What's up, guys? My name is Evan. Welcome back for another video. I appreciate you tuning in. Real quick comment. If you're not getting any interviews in the last 20, 30, maybe even 50 applications you've sent out, pause this video and go get your resume. We have some work to do. I can almost promise you 3 to 4 of these statements or objectives or statement or phrases we're going to cover today are probably on your resume in some way, shape, or form. I've reviewed over 7,000 different transition teacher resumes to this point, and in my own personal career, I've landed the job that most people would kill for. So I do know what I'm talking about, and I've noticed the same issues over and over again on many different people's resumes. And these issues are costing a lot of you job opportunities, interviews, even just first phone calls to get to know you. That's that serious. And I'm not here to roast you. Some of you I do. No, I'm kidding. I'm not even here to roast you. I'm simply here to help you save 4 to 6 months worth of your time finding this out by yourself without any help. Here's some quick additional context. Over 98% of Fortune 500 companies do use an applicant tracking system. Again, if you go on LinkedIn and check out the ATS civil war that always happens, I fall in the middle. A lot of people say it's not real. A lot of other folks say it's all that matters. I'm in the middle. ATS and making it ATS approved is 10% of a good resume. I've seen amazing resumes without any ATS stuff being considered, and I've seen ATS perfect resumes that are complete dog doo-doo. So you got to be somewhere in the middle. This is the cherry on top. This is the whipped cream, not the full sundae. So with that being said, here are the top 8 phrases, words, statements, and objectives that are getting you pulled from the top of the pile to the bottom. And if you enjoyed this type of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. I'm that guy. Go down. What's up, YouTube? Go down to that subscribe button and beat the hell out of it and smash the like button. Woo! No. Also, if you enjoy my content specifically, I got a bunch of free stuff in the description box for you. Resume reviews, portfolio course, ebook. I even have a bunch of free tools on there like a salary negotiator and a job description analyzer. All down there. Check it out. And with that being said, phrase number 1 is passionate educator. This is the phrase that makes me want to close a resume quicker than almost any other one. And again, I'm not here to roast anybody. I'm just here to be blunt with you. Passionate educator is a no-go. And I can understand and empathize with the fact that you are saying a true statement. But the only problem is everybody is passionate, especially teachers. They're always passionate about their work. But here's the issue and the crux of it. When someone outside of the education space, and again, I've been in education, so when I read it myself, I know what you're trying to say, and I take that bias, bigotry, prejudice, the whole lens is off, and I can understand what you're saying. But other recruiters, hiring managers, and folks in the space don't. And when they read passionate educator, what they're actually reading is this person is still a teacher. You're applying to be an instructional designer, learning development specialist, corporate trainer, in implementation. Passionate educator says the complete opposite. And the problem is, you're not applying to be an educator. And to be fair to the word passionate outside of resumes, I'm all about it. But on resumes, everyone says it and it's really lost what it actually means in its real core. It's just a filler word now. It doesn't mean anything. You don't need to show them or tell them that you're passionate. You need to show them and tell them how you're capable of making a difference in the role you're applying for. If I were you, if I was applying for jobs again in this market, what I would do is replace passionate educator with your target role specifically and a specific outcome instead. So here's what I would do if I were you applying for these jobs. Instead of saying passionate educator, I would say the role you actually want with a metric to frame it. For example, I would say something like instructional designer with 7 years of curriculum architecture experience. Oh, okay, we have some good keywords and then they're specific. Or something like learning and development professional with a proven record of designing 15 plus programs for diverse audiences. Ooh, delicious. The reason this hits so different is that you are the role that you do. If you can make curriculum, well, then you are a curriculum designer. If you can manage a program, you are a program manager. Stop getting hung up on titles. Teachers of all people should know this. You do so much outside of your regular job that you wear 10 hats. So thinking that you have to just put teacher as your title is ludicrous. You know how much you're valued. You know how hard you work. Start acting like it on paper. With that being said, our second phrase is dedicated or hardworking. Dedicated, hardworking, committed. These mean nothing. to a hiring manager or a recruiter at this point. In the 90s, maybe it did. In today's day and age, everyone is dedicated, hardworking, and committed. And the reason is every other single person out there is also writing hardworking, dedicated, and committed. So what's the point now? Because truly, if everyone's zigging, you need to zag. If everyone's doing A, you should go down B. In this job market, I would much rather stand out than be like everyone else. If everyone else is doing the same thing and no one's having success, that means you need to pivot and do something else entirely. So words like hardworking, committed, and dedicated just take up space on your resume. If you use it once in like a summary, okay, not bad. But if you have those words sprinkled throughout, you're just wasting, precious real estate on a resume that could be used for something else. And with this point's a very important lesson for you. You're not going to get credit for talking about your personality traits on a resume, a LinkedIn, or in an interview unless asked otherwise and specified. You get credit for proving outcomes. Just like the first point, what matters is the metrics and the outcomes. Don't tell me you're committed. Give me an example of how you were committed. Don't tell me you're dedicated. Show me an example that you're dedicated. A dedicated person, a dedicated teacher would say something like, redesign a curriculum for 200 students and improved assessment scores by 23%. Yeah, you're dedicated. You don't do that by not dedicated. So with this one, again, I would take out those words and replace it with a specific measurement or outcome. That way you can prove these words instead of just saying them and it means nothing. Our next phrase is going to be transitioning teacher or former teacher. Get out of here. This one physically hurts because I was a transitioning teacher. I know what you're trying to say, but recruiters and hiring managers read it differently than what someone like me reads it. I know you're trying to be upfront. You're trying to be honest. You're trying to say, I'm in a career change. I'm showing self-awareness by saying I don't have that job yet. I get that. But what it actually does in real life, outside of, the bubbles that we are in as a teacher, all it's saying and signaling to me is that you don't belong yet. Nobody who's been in the corporate space would ever say, I'm transitioning, I'm a former this, unless you're saying like former CEO or something big and you're applying for a role lower. Everyone else just says they do the job that they want. Hiring managers have to hire good talent. Recruiters have to recruit good talent. Former educator, currently transitioning teacher, all it signals is that there's somebody out there besides you who has this job already and offers better solutions. The moment you start your resume with that, you've already shot yourself in the knee. Take it off immediately. And let me be clear. I have taught. I have ran a small business. I am an instructional design manager for an F-250 healthcare company. Teaching is harder. Teaching is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. You can do the job already. Stop doubting yourself. You are a professional with a specific set of skills that will be appreciated at the job. Start talking like it, start putting it on the paper for yourself, and start identifying as it. Simply put, just like our first point, take off any mention of transitioning, teacher, former this, and just put the role that you want and what you're going for. You are what you do. It's time for you to own it on your first line. Please. The fourth phrase is, I help students or I work with students. There's multiple issues with this one, starting off with personal pronouns on a resume. I hate the word I on a resume, not because I personally care, but as a writer, it's a formatting error that will cost you ATS points immediately. The second piece is going to be the actual wording itself. Students, help, academic. Now, of course, if you're applying for like learning and development or instructional design or especially like a corporate trainer, you'll run into less of this. But if you're making a massive leap to something else, you gotta be extremely particular about the words that you use. Some examples for you could be like this. Students become learners, participants or stakeholders. Help becomes facilitated, coached, or supported. Academic or academics becomes performance-based or outcome-driven. This takes an extra 5 seconds of editing, but on your resume, if you can make those small changes, it will make a massive difference with the ATS and with the human at the first 2 levels or so. So this is different language, but with completely different results and wording. For our fifth phrase, it's going to be responsible for or duties included. Ew. In my professional opinion, says the guy with tattoos and piercings everywhere, responsible for and duties included are extremely weak and say nothing. The reason is you are describing what your job title was. You didn't say anything about what you actually did on the job. I've said the word impact a lot. Responsible for holds no impact because I don't know what that means in practice. I want you to get away from duties and responsibilities and focus and bring on impact, numbers, numerics, and time frames far more with real outcomes. If you're wondering the best way to do this, focus on your action verbs of your experience section. If you say responsible for X, Y, and Z, you've already caged yourself into a box because you're kind of framing yourself as someone who's responsible for something, compared to saying something like created blank, designed blank, led blank. Powerful verbs like that will give you the opportunity to speak on and then lean into non-responsibility based experience and actually focus on what you did. I can confirm this as someone who hires. I don't care what you were hired to do. I care about what you actually did and what you delivered. Because again, as a teacher, you are hired to teach, but how many extra things do you do? Exactly. If you need help as a beginner, again, free resume reviews or I can write them for you. But as a nice beginner point, do this on your resume experience points. Every point, just to start, should be then followed up by what happened because of it. Here's an example. Designed and delivered 8 concurrent curriculum programs serving 200 students across 2 campuses, achieving a 94% completion rate. Make sense? You start off with an action word, that's good. Designed and delivered. 2, you threw in some numerics, but what did you do? What did you actually do? I ran and delivered 8 concurrent curriculum programs. Oh, further framing, 200 students. Got it. Over 2 campuses. That's a lot. Got it. And you achieve a 94% completion rate. You sought off to do this with an action. This then led through these actions to this result. Simple. I cover the same XYZ format in my free ebook. Check it out. When it comes to phase number 6, Proficient in Microsoft Office. This one is short and sweet. In the year 2026 and 2027 of our year, Lord Savior, my God, if you don't know Microsoft Word, Houston, you got bigger problems. I think that putting this in your skills section makes a lot of sense just because of the ATS itself. So if the only mention of basic software, Microsoft Word, Google Sheets, Outlook, I hope they got you know how to work email, all those, that's acceptable inside of a skills section for ATS purposes because again, it's a robot. It's not real. And the job descriptions may include those types of software. So having a small section for that, for the robot to go, okay, they have basic skills, got it. Perfectly acceptable. If you have 2 or 3 experience points discussing your use of Google Sheets, I'm not going to take you seriously. Generic software skills is a bare minimum. In your experience section and in anything else beyond just mentioning that in a small section, it needs to be job description dependent and focused. So if you're trying to get into instructional design, articulate 360, storyline, rise, that being an experience point makes sense. I need more there. If you're trying to get into project management and you're talking about Asana, Trello, Smartsheets, hey, 1 or 2 points for that makes complete sense. If you mention any baseline software outside of that, you are wasting space. And again, if you are older, no offense, again, not roasting. If you are older already and you're focusing on baseline software skills, I'm going to be ageist. Not me, the industry will go, this person is 55 and they're talking about Microsoft Word. Uh-oh. So please make sure you are smart about how you broadcast and market your software skills. Phrase 7 off of that is references upon request or them being on your resume. Big no-no. Again, in 2026, we know you have references and I will ask for them if needed. So don't take up the space putting them on there or saying upon request. I feel like that was much more of a 90s, early 2000s thing. Nowadays, with LinkedIn and everything, we know you have references. Additionally, if you put the actual people on your resume, for the love of God, you need to remove them immediately. Not because you did anything wrong, but in someone who's been on LinkedIn for a long time, the amount of scammers on there is egregious and terrifying. I'm not lying to you. There's so many scammers and bad intentioned people out there. If you were to And again, this is not an ageist thing. This is for everybody, because I almost had to send gift cards to a fake principal like 2016. Even I almost got. So again, I get it. But basically, if you were to put your 3 best references on your resume and you get duped into a job description, you submit your application and they fool you good enough, which has happened to people. It's not shade, it's reality. Their scams are getting better. They will look at your resume and then they're going to drag your references into it. They're going to go, oh, can you do this link? Can you fill out this thing? And for all you know, that's malware. That's a Trojan horse virus. Now your homie's computer's broken and they've lost, access to something. Or worse, it makes the scam look better by getting your references involved. And all of a sudden, you're all getting duped. The same way we have cybersecurity on the back end, you need to also kind of lean into a cybersecurity for your references and keep them safe. Because again, if one of my friends put my information at risk for a scammer and then I got kind of in trouble or had problems because they just put my information on a resume without asking or verifying, I'm gonna be pissed. Shouldn't happen. You're not breaking some cardinal rule, but in 2026 and beyond, scammers are terrible people and they're everywhere. So just be careful. And the last one, which is probably the most important one I've noticed, there's no numbers anywhere. Houston, we got a problem. As much as this doesn't fit the theme of being a phrase, but it's so important I had to add it, right? This is the most expensive mistake on this list. Not only are resumes with no numbers going to get past an ATS system, I have no idea the framing or level or size of what you've done, so I have to just assume, and that's not where you want to be. And this is a true fact. Over 90% of the resumes I review have 3 or less digits. I would venture to say that 50% have no digits on them, no numerics at all. And before you go, why is that important? Let's frame it like this outside of resume landed in the real world. If I said, I ate some cookies, how much are you going to assume? 2, 3? Eating 2 cookies is a lot different than eating 50 cookies, right? Saying you spent some money on dinner is not the same as saying I spent $10 on dinner compared to $200 on dinner, right? So without data, without numbers, specifically going to be your number sign, your dollar sign, or the percent sign, you're not going to be able to really articulate what you did and how big the impact was. Additionally, not having time frames also makes this incredibly difficult. And this is what I do for my clients extremely well, in my opinion. You can use time frames and numbers to make yourself look as best as possible. Here's a good example and something you could take away in things I do for my clients. If you, for example, have the same class every day, the same 25 kids, it would make less sense to lean into XYZ a day type of statistics, right? Because if you're teaching 25 kids a day, every statistic based off of a day or a year is not going to hit as good, right? I taught 25 kids a day. Not bad. And at the same time, let's say you're like me in South Carolina, I had 9 classes a day. They'd switch 9 times, each with 25 kids. I could say 185 kids a day. 185 kids a day versus 25 a day makes a massive difference. But comparatively, if I teach one subject to 9 different, groups of kids, I taught one subject a day, doesn't hit as much as saying I taught 6 subjects a day or 8 subjects a day if you have the same group of kids. So using time frames of hey, a day, a week, a year, and leaning into what sounds best makes a massive difference. And before you go, I don't have any quantifications, harumph, and you hit your desk. I don't know who that sounds like, but hey, whatever. If you're having problems, here's some easy examples for you. How many students did you serve? A day, a week, a month, a year, a quarter, a career, right? How many courses did you run simultaneously? What percentage of your students met their benchmarks, didn't meet their benchmarks? How many colleagues did you work with? How many parents did you email a week? You have oodles of things you can lean into when it comes to numbers. I'm in the belief that every single experience points needs at least a number, if not a number in a time frame. If you don't have that, you're leaving so much on the table and you're going to have way less interviews or traction. That's also why people hire me, because it is harder than it looks, but I've done it for so long, I can explain it pretty well. Look, if you had all 8 of these problems on your resume, take a deep breath, because they're just mistakes. You're just learning. None of these things mean you are a bad candidate, you don't have good skill transfer, and you're not going to land a job. It means none of that. It means that no one taught you how to write a resume outside of education, and that's normal. You've been taught how to teach, how to grade, and how to have anxiety every single Sunday night. No one taught you how to make a resume for a corporate job. It's normal. Just like the skill of delivering content and designing content is a skill you can learn, writing a resume is a skill you can learn. So here's a quick checklist before I send you down to the description box for more good stuff. Remove passionate educator. Remove dedicated and hardworking. Remove transitioning teacher. Remove I help students. Remove responsible for. Remove proficient in Microsoft Office or just crappy baseline software. And then remove the references from your resume. And then lastly, make sure every point as best as possible has quantifications and timeframes. Now, if you want to tell me or show me about your resume, if I said all these things and you're like, what the hell is happening? Again, I offer free resume reviews. Yes, it's 100%, no strings attached. I will send you an ATS score of my own ATS I've developed over looking at 10 to 15 of them. My own ATS score, a complete plan of what I would do and why. I'll even take 2 of your resume points and rewrite them in the language I use and the same points I discussed here today, all for free by email. If you feel ready for something else, make sure to check out the other free stuff I offer in the description box and my paid services. Again, I don't like pushing stuff. I'm not a sales guy. Again, you would think mullet dude with piercings is not Mr. Sales guy, actually. But I have some great stuff down there. I do resumes, cover letters, and a career packet folks have been raving about. And when it comes to free stuff, I have 7 tools for you down there. Salary negotiator, job description analyzer, company research analyst, all for free. I also do a free portfolio course on YouTube. You're already there. Go get the link. And I have a free ebook for you. 200 pages, all there for you for free in the description box. If you got the time while you're down there, drop a comment. It does help. Thank you so much. I plan on making videos hopefully weekly or twice a week. And I hope your resume had some successes because of this. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.